Well, greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. If it's Monday night, you know it's time for The Last Stand. As always, I'm joined by my broadcast partner, Jay Campbell, and tonight we're really excited and tremendously honored to be welcoming back Zachary Hubbard of Gematria. Is it News Effect or Gematria Effect News?
However you want it, but it's Gematria Effect News.
Gematria Effect News. I just bought his book yesterday. I should have bought it before now. It's called Letters and Numbers. I'm looking forward to great stuff from it. Zach, since I'd leave something out or put something in you don't want, go ahead and introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself to our audience, please.
Sure. So I'm known as the Letters and Numbers guy. I'm often putting out videos and blog posts educating people about how every single day, by understanding this code of letters and numbers, which is known as Gematria, you can see through propaganda, rigged elections, rigged sports games, ritualistic deaths. And in tonight's show, we can talk about all the major headlines today. Today's a prime example of what goes on every single day. So,
absolutely. That's what we're here for. I know we wanted to dive deep into the current events and even the things about pro sports, because even though people, pro sports are kind of, they're marginal, but it still is a great way to show that this Gematria, and I'll pronounce it correctly, is a real thing. Jay Campbell, what's on your mind tonight in regards to what we're going to talk about with Mr. Zachary Hubbard of Gematria Effect News?
There you go. You got it. Well, first off, it's good to see you, Jeff, obviously. Zach, great to see you again. I'm glad you're back. Your first podcast you did with us was awesome. We had a ton of people, and Gematria and numbers and numerology and all this stuff just absolutely fascinates me. I did buy your book a long time ago, and I probably read through it a couple of times already. It's just mind blowing. I feel like it opens up more doors to more answers that are like even more difficult to even interpret, because again, we're in the matrix, inside an enigma, wrapped in a riddle.
We are.
And it's just like, how do we truly, as aware people or beings, conscious co-creators, how do we really even determine what's going on? It's just, I feel like, Jeff and I talk about this all the time now. Like, I feel like there's really no reason to continue to go down more rabbit holes. It's just a matter of like, what can you do, to serve other people, to love, to be kind, to work yourself, right? Because that's all you really can control is yourself, because everything else is just like a circus. But, I obviously Jeff sent me what you wanted to talk about, Zach. And so I promoted today. I talked about the burning of religious sites, the religious related shootings. And then, of course, we'll save for the end, professional sports being rigged, because that's a fascinating topic. And I know you have a lot to say, but so do Jeff and I, because we've been like talking about amongst ourselves for years about that. But I just, to open up tonight, I want, push it to you, Zach, here in a second, but I really think it's time. I know Jeff and I discussed about this today. I'm going to probably piss some people off right now, but I really don't care.
Yeah, that never happens, Jay.
We've been doing it for 2 years now, almost. And if you're still a religious person and you're watching our show, you need to check out now. Okay. I mean, honestly, like, I don't care if I offend you, but Jeff has done a great job proving that religion is made up. The teachings, obviously the spiritual foundational principles of every different religion are all amazing. But if you're truly going to church every Sunday, whatever, creed that you worship, and you're, bowing down to Yahweh / the demiurge / whomever it is, then why are you watching our show? You're wasting your energy, because you're not learning. You're not actually going out into the universe to collectively make the vibration of all of us higher, because you're giving your energy and your prayers and your devotion and all that other stuff to literally the people or the thing or whatever it is that literally is keeping 80% of the masses asleep. I mean, what else do I need to say, Jeff?
Zach, the one thing that I get from people sometimes about Gematria, and you've probably heard this, they say that when they look at all these numbers, they look at all these codes, everything's connected. It can sometimes give people a sense of hopelessness. Like, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I try or if I don't try. The game's rigged. The deck is stacked against me. The cards are all rigged. Why should I even try if the whole thing's against me? How do you respond to that from a Gematria expert perspective?
Sure. So my whole purpose in this work is to show people the agenda that we're living out, the mind control that's being waged against us, and who's responsible, so that we can identify it and we can stop it. So to me, my message is the exact opposite of hopelessness. It's about, shedding light on what's going on and who's responsible. And with regards to what Jay was just saying, he's speaking against religion. Religion is mind control, just like government is.
Hello.
Absolutely.
So on that subject, well, let me make sure. Do you guys want me to take the floor and talk about today?
Yeah, and Zach, let me just say something. I heard you I was watching some of your videos, and I heard you say that my channel is the most important truth channel out there. There's none that are more important. And to be frank with you, I wouldn't want you on this channel as a guest if you didn't feel that. So go for it, brother.
Yeah, no doubt.
Sure. So I am a bit arrogant. It is a flaw, and I have said that before.
Jay and I know nothing about that. We're miles away from that.
Okay. So, all right, let's talk about religion and government. And today, April 29th, the 119th day of the year, in light of what's circulating in the mainstream media. When I woke up this morning, CNN, which is my favorite news network to pick on, I really could pick on all of them, but I love to pick on CNN. CNN's top story this morning was about how in the past 6 weeks, there's been terrorist attacks on churches, mosques, and synagogues. And here we are on the 119th day of the year, 119. And whenever I see that number or hear that number, it always makes me think of one day, and that is September 11th, where the majority of the world writes that date 11/9, like 119.
And Zach, just explain that for a minute, because I lived in Europe and I know what you're meaning, but I don't know if everybody does. Please explain what you're saying there.
Sure. So in the United States, we do things different than most people. We would write it 9/11, like 911, but the majority of the world writes the day before the month. So the majority of the world would have written the date September 11th, 11/9. Clear? Okay. So on September 11th, recall what happened. There was this terrorist event. The U.S. government came out and said it was an act of radical Islam. And on the BBC that day, you had Ehud Barak, the leader of Israel, go on television and say the United States needed to declare a war on terrorism. And he named Afghanistan and Iraq specifically. He said, that's who you need to go after.
By the way, did he do that before? He did that before it happened, correct?
Well, he might have done it before it happened too. He also did it right after. So
right. Well, no, but I mean, I remember reading, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I remember reading that he did it because remember the time difference. He actually did it that day and in the morning in the nation state of Israel.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, because let's not forget that the dancing Israelis were arrested in New Jersey and sent back to Israel, where they went on live television and said they were there to document the attacks because they had foreknowledge.
And make no doubt, there were dancing Israelis. That wasn't just a wives' tale. It really, truly happened.
Yes, it did.
Right. Now, this code of letters and numbers, again, it comes from Jewish mysticism known as Kabbalah. In Kabbalah's text, the Book of Formation, it's stated in the opening paragraph, and anybody can get this text. Your favorite online bookseller has it. It's probably about $5. You don't even have to read far into the book. You just have to open it up and read the first paragraph of the first page. It opens by saying, God created the world by merging the letter with the number with the word. And the people who are in control of this world, we call them the Cabal. And that name comes from Kabbalah. These people are playing God over our lives by using this code that is believed to be the code of God. And in this code, just using the alphabetic order, all-seeing eye is 119, as in your mind's eye. So is Star of David. So is Orthodox. If you use the rules of numerology, Ashkenazi Jews is 119. This is a special number to these people. And if you read CNN's article this morning, all of the commentary on it is from the Anti-Defamation League, a Jewish organization. And you're hearing about this April 29th, the 119th day of the year. Now, if you go back and you look at September 11th, you're going to see some interesting things. If you look up the history of Osama bin Laden, his father supposedly died in a plane wreck September 3rd, 1967. Now, September 3rd is the day leaving 119 days left in the year. And think about that date, September 3rd, 9/3, the day leaving 119 days left in the year. If you ask me, that reminds me of the 93 World Trade Center bombing.
Oh, yeah.
And Flight 93, the building that now stands there, One World Trade Center equals 93. It's a whole nother side topic. It's another special number, but 93, 119. Here's another thing you can look up that's funny. From the day that Obama took office, January 20th, 2009, to the day Osama bin Laden was reported dead, Osama Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, Saddam Hussein Obama. I mean, it was so...
Letters
it was just such an obvious
and numbers.
talking. But anyway, if you look at from the day that Obama took office to the day that they reported Osama dead, when they gave us that nice picture with his back to us and said, oh, there he is, he's dead. That was May 2nd, 2011. From January 20th, 2009 to May 2nd, 2011 is exactly on the nose a span of 119 weeks. 119. And the thing about May 2nd, 5-2, is the word terrorist has a gematria of 52. So does president, so does government, so does authority, so does White House, so does Kabbalah, so does gematria, so does the cabal. They're all 52. 52. And today, April 29th, 19, happens to be a day with 52 numerology as well, which we're going to get to because today... the leader of ISIS spoke out for the first time in 5 years.
That's right.
And a terrorist plot was supposedly thwarted in Los Angeles.
The leader of ISIS, you mean trained in Langley?
Exactly. The guy they call Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, a completely ridiculous name.
Hold on, Zach.
Al-Baghdadi. Doesn't sound anything like
hold on one
Big
second.
Daddy
So,
at
Zach,
all.
let me ask you a question. This is important. Now, obviously, this doesn't apply to people watching the show or people that follow you. But what percentage, and this is a very important question, what percentage of people out there right now in the world watching that actually believe at this point in time now, knowing what we know, that that's real?
95%.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Can
you imagine the brainwash and the conditioning and the, as you call it, the mind control that is over people, that they have seen what they have seen the last 25 years and still believe that that's true?
And to Zach's point, it's not just people that watch CNN, people that watch Fox,
everyone,
just as much.
Right. And you're saying it right there. You're using that word believe, the word that has lie right in the middle of it.
L-I-E. Yeah.
And again, almost all of us grew up, not everybody, but a lot of us grew up with the same background. We grew up in a family that was probably part of a religion. And from a young age, we had parents that wanted us to believe. And then we were sent off to school and we're taught to, follow the authority and not question the authority. So we're getting this programming, this way of living and operating from a young age for almost all of us. And for whatever reason, some of us have the minds to break out of it at some point.
Right.
But obviously, it's the flaw of the human species, not enough. So, I mean, you can understand why people are believing and not thinking and questioning, because it's how almost all of us were raised.
Right.
And I'm somebody who was kicked out of confirmation class for, asking how a man could survive in the belly of a whale or a giant fish.
Good for you.
And that's all I need to see. I was like, well, if I'm going to get kicked out for asking questions, I mean, I got better things.
Dude, I ran out of Catholic Church. Everybody knows I ran out of Catholic Church at 6 or 7. I don't remember. But Jeff was enslaved for 20 years.
And Jeff was worse than that. Jeff was one of the guys that was enslaving other people for 20 years. I was working for the dark side for a long time. And finally, somebody, showed me the light side. I came over from the dark side. And I mean, every day of my life, I literally will regret that. And I hope that I can do enough between now and the time I die to make up for some of what I led people into and had people captive in for so many years. And I mean, I was good at it.
Yeah, but you already have. And Zach, so it's another question and get back to it. But why do some of us wake up, brother? I think I asked you this question the last time we did it. What do you ever find a unifying attachment that allows that 5%, 3%, whatever there is of us to wake up? What do you think it is?
I think for some of us, it's trauma. I don't know what it is for everybody, though. I think for a lot of us, though, it is trauma. So.
Interesting point. But, I don't mean to throw a monkey wrench. Well, it was trauma because I got it. I was going to say with my lifestyle, when I grew up, the worst trauma I ever had is when I stepped on a pop top in the sand at the beach in my front yard. But I actually did wake up when my wife ran off with my piano player and everything crashed around me. So it was severe trauma that caused me to snap out of it. So you guys are right.
I think that dark night of the soul is kind of what you're inferring, Zach. But I also think there's a karmic effect. I think some of us, who have like really old souls and probably lived who knows how many go rounds are just, itching to wake up earlier than, somebody who's not as old or as advanced. I just see so many people that are so intellectual, but yet literally cannot see the forest of the trees. Jeff and I always say eyes to see and ears to hear.
Right.
But it's mind blowing to me.
It is. It's the greatest mystery of this world to me. So I see the same thing. I think all of us who are awake, witness and live the same thing, and we all ask the same questions. Why? So
do you have anyone in your family that's awake?
My mom, sort of. She's awake to a lot of things, but she's half awake. She still falls for the whole political thing. So
Jeff and I talk about this. All the baby boomers are conditioned by the boob tube. That's all they've grown up on. And that's the greatest conditioning agent by the enslavers of all time.
Exactly. I meant to say that. Religion, government, and then the super mind control weapon, the television. So
absolutely. Zachary, let me trigger Jay here for a second. We've talked about this. And when you think about the things that have happened, we've had Catholic, Christian places burned down. We've had Islamic places attacked. We've had Jewish places attacked.
Right.
And I have postulated the theory, and Jay thinks I'm crazy as hell, that instead of trying to incite a political war, a religious war, is it possible that they're trying to build enough sympathy for all three religions and enough angst within all three religions that they'll come to the realization that they can't individually conquer everything, but if they come together and reunify, they can split it all up and divvy it up between themselves at the table? Are they setting us up for a reunification of Abrahamic religion so they can collectively take over the rest of us that they can't seem to individually conquer?
That's a very interesting theory. That very well could be it. The way I perceive it is they're just working at building hate in the world and anger towards all groups that they possibly can. Right. Religious, race, sexual orientation. That was my take. But now that you say that, that's absolutely a relevant point. That could be what they're up to. So
to that point, Jeff, and I don't hate you for saying that. I disagreed initially because I think of Albert Pike, right? And Pike,
we all disagree. That's the beauty of this. If we all three agreed, it would be a really boring show.
Right. But Albert Pike, right? If Albert Pike is true, and Zach, there's obviously tons of numerology and gematria with the Masons and all of that. But if what he said is true, that the war to end all wars, which again was World War III, which is the war to end all religions, then Jeff's wrong. But if they're really smart and they're doing the inversion now, because obviously there are more of us, even though I don't know if there really is that many of us. I think we're kind of our own echo chamber. We kind of sometimes think that more of us are waking up, but the truth is what if Jeff is right? And that would be the ultimate inversion, because everybody's waiting for this religious war. And maybe they just drop the false, Jesus, the plastic Jesus, as Jeff calls it, who can then just like holographically be projected over every continent and, then speak the language or the native tongue of those people hearing it. And now we're all under one world government.
Okay. So I
take us through some numbers, Zach.
So what I've been talking about nonstop since September of 2018 is for people to watch out for the dates of Tisha B'Av this year, which is August 10th and August 11th, 2019. And to me, the more curious date's August 11th. What Tisha B'Av is to remember the days of Jewish tragedy, namely the destruction of the two temples, Solomon's temple and Herod's temple. It's also the start date of World War I. It's the date the process of the Holocaust supposedly began. A lot of things connected to Jewish tragedy are connected to Tisha B'Av. And last year, 2018, around the time of September 11th, the story was circulating in the mainstream headlines about the unblemished red heifer being born.
Right.
Revelation on the way, and the third temple on the way, and the Jewish Messiah arriving. So the stories around that time were quoting the number 118. And I said, 118, that's funny because Tisha B'Av falls on August 11th next year, which is now this year, 2019, a date that can be written 11/8. Now check this out. Everyone can go verify this. The synagogue shooting October 27th in Pittsburgh was reported to have happened at 11:08 local time, 11:08, kind of like 11:08.
Yeah.
The mosque shootings on the Ides of March, which, by the way, I told people to circle that date in October. It was connected to the bombing scares. If you remember that, the mega bomber. That's why he was apologizing in the media the day after the Ides of March mosque shootings. It's all connected propaganda. But the shootings in Christchurch, New Zealand, that targeted the mosques, an obvious, religion riddle, Islam and Christianity. If you look up the address of both those mosques, they end with 8011, both of them, 8011. Again, those digits, 811, kind of like August 11th.
Right.
Then you had two religious structures burn April 15th. You had Notre Dame in Paris, and you had Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem near the site of where the third temple's to be, at the site of the Dome of the Rock, which is what some Zionists, they want to demolish the Dome of the Rock and build the third temple right there, even though there's no historical proof that either of the first two temples were there. But both of those events happened exactly 118 days before August 11th. And again, Tisha B'Av, to remember the destruction of the two temples, you had two religious sites burning, a Catholic site and a Muslim site, 118 days till. And now after this synagogue shooting, they set up a GoFundMe raising $118,000.
Jeez.
And why would you raise $118,000? And
that's just crazy.
Yeah, my video calling attention to that's what got struck. And
Zach, why didn't they have a synagogue attack simultaneously with the church and the mosque?
Say that again, Jeff.
Why do you think they didn't have a synagogue attack simultaneous with Notre Dame and that mosque?
Well, because two's the number, right?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
So they had two sites. And what I said right after that is I said, are we going to see another synagogue shooting before August 11th? Because then we'll have two synagogue shootings. And, well, now we got it. So I don't think we'll see any more synagogue shootings, at least until August 11th.
Let's hope not.
So
hold on, Zach. I want to stop you real quick because when you and I spoke last time, remember you actually predicted, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually think that either August 10th or August 11th, something massive is going to happen. Correct. This isn't going to be some BS. This is going to be a major 9/11 type false flag, maybe even much more significant. Correct.
I do, because I think, okay, so check this out. Israel was established May 14th, 1948, right?
Yep.
May 14th. So here's what's interesting about that. That means that this year, May 14th, it's going to be 71 years of Israel. And what's interesting about that is the word temple equals 71. And this is their plan to bring about the third temple so they can usher in the Jewish Messiah. Okay? Talmud, the Jewish text that says non-Jews are a lesser race, Goyim, Gentiles.
The Goyim, yeah.
Talmud equals 71. So this 71-year anniversary is something to look out for. And from August 11th to Benjamin Netanyahu's birthday is 71 days this year. Yeah.
And Bibi did get reelected.
The Battle of the Benjamins.
Yes.
A complete joke. And right after you had that puppet congresswoman say it's all about the Benjamins with AIPAC, all of this stuff is a scripted web.
Right.
And of course, Benjamin's being slang for dollars. So it really is a battle of the Benjamins. It's all about, what's the old golden rule? He who has the gold makes the rules.
Right. Exactly. And the thing is, too, Donald Trump, the election for him was November 8th, another 11/8 day. And right now there's a shekel on sale in Israel with Donald Trump and King Cyrus's face on one side and the third temple on the other. And that shekel's being sold to raise money to build the third temple. That shekel actually went on sale April 12th last year, which is the 102nd day of the year, and shekel equals 102. But what's so interesting is Donald Trump is the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election. he announced he was going to run for president from the 58-story Trump Tower. For Inauguration Day, it was big news that he got rid of the guy who'd done all the ceremonies for half a century, and instead he hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray. Hillary put out a book about why she lost called What Happened, which equals 58. Right. So does Freemasonry, so does Rosicrucian, so does Rose Cross, so does Secret Society. Anyhow, this year from Trump's birthday to August 11th is 58 days, and all of these things sum to 58. Third Temple, Herod's Temple, Solomon's Temple, Jerusalem. They're all 58. Donald Trump was in Jerusalem for Jerusalem Day, May 22nd, 2017, exactly 811 days before August 11th, a date in the U.S. that we do write 8/11 like 811. And the thing about May 22nd and August 11th is those dates are reflections of each other. May 11th is the 142nd day of the year, leaving 223 days remaining. August 11th, the 223rd day of the year, leaving 142 days remaining. So you just start to look at all these pieces and the way they align. August 11th this year, not only is it Tisha B'Av, it's also the Muslim day of sacrifice, and it's also the time of the Hajj when the Muslims are making their pilgrimage to Mecca.
Very significant day.
Al-Qaeda was supposedly established in history on August 11th. And if you look it up, August 11th, 1988, supposedly the day Al-Qaeda established.
Al-Qaeda.
Exactly. Today, this ISIS leader, supposedly his tape emerges. First time in 5 years. And here's the kicker out of this. Again, today has 52 date numerology. Terrorist equals 52, so does ISIS. They're both 52, like how Osama died 5/2, supposedly, May 2nd. And this terrorist name for ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, his name equals 105. From today to August 11th is a span of 105 days. Zionism and Masonry are also 105. So if you continue to pay attention to the events and the way they're rolling out and what they're encoding in all of these religious attacks, it's just the same repetitive patterns, and they're all pointing to the same day. Yesterday, April 28th, was the 118th day of the year, Orthodox Easter, and at the end of the day, they had to give us the headline about the church shooting at the cookouts across the shooting across the street from the Baptist church in Maryland at the cookouts. And then they talked about how the shooting suspect ran behind the church and died. And I'm thinking, okay, on the 118th day of the year, now this too. I mean, this looks like another one. So anyway, I've been talking for a minute. Back to you, gentlemen.
Zach, somebody's asking in the chat room, and I think I know the answer to this. No, they clearly are seeing the reality of Gematria on a societal level, on a national level. Does Gematria also apply to people's personal lives on an individual level? So there is absolutely an organic side to this. It's the last chapter of my book. That was the most shocking part to me. I was like, wow, there's an organic side to this. And I think that's part of the reason that they use this code, because there is some real world significance to it. And it's like they're trying to manipulate the code or manipulate the matrix. So just real quick, to give you a quick example, just using myself. If you do a web search on Google and you type in what's the coldest day ever recorded, it's going to pull up July 21st, 1983. And it's going to tell you that the record temperature is negative 89 Celsius. And what's funny is that's my birthday. Now, if you decode my parents' full names and my name, just using the most pure cipher, the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, my father's full name, my full name, they both sum to 89. And my mother's birthday is September 8th, a date written 8/9, like 89 in the majority of the world. And 89 is the 11th Fibonacci number, which are said to be the numbers of God. The next Fibonacci number is 144. And from my parents' birthdays, they're exactly 144 days apart. So, from myself to yourself, if you start to look at this, you're going to find these organic synchronicities that'll blow your mind. Some people say, well, how do you know that every day that what we're seeing in the media is not organic? And the way they contrive these names and stuff, and the details and the lack of evidence for the highly suspicious stories that never add up, it's easy to see the manipulation in the media
and to be able to contrast that with things that are organic. But yeah, there is an organic side to this code. So,
so Zach, I mean, we talked about this last time you were on the show, but I think that this proves, and again, we can't physically prove this, we just can postulate, but this is truth. This to me makes it the reality that we are in a simulation that much greater. Because
Sure.
when you can control the outcomes like they're clearly doing, and I put in the group chat that we are all living in the Truman Show. And when we know that, right, that Hollywood is, the golden cipher and they're constantly putting things out in front of us. I mean, there's no other way to really control for any of this other than to say that this is literally a simulation. We are in a sim. What do you say to that?
I'd say it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. So, like you said, we can't prove it, but we can observe it and say, well, what in the world is going on if it's not a simulation?
Right.
And Zachary, let's say that we had a significant event happen in our lives, or a significant event in history, and we wanted to look at the gematria of that date. I know it's probably in your book, but just kind of walk us through a little bit if you can. What are some of the ways you would go about looking at and studying the gematria of, let's say, a certain event that occurred on a certain day?
Sure. So you would want to measure from your birthday to the day it happened. You'd want to start there. You'd want to look at that distance in days. You'd also want to look at the numerology of the day it happened, and you'd probably want to know the numbers that connect to your birth numerology and your name. So you'd want to have these numbers in mind. What's my numerology from my date of birth? What's the number that's connected to my name? And let's just say your name was your name summed to 98, and you said you went back and looked at this major event in your life. You might find like, wow, that happened 98 days from my birthday too.
Wow. Would you also do the gematria of other people's names that might have been involved in said event with you?
Of course, you'd want to look at the people connected to you. Absolutely. And do the same thing, measure from their birthday. So
amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Yeah. The book is called Letters and Numbers. And Zachary, is it true? Would you say that if a person gets your book and reads it, how proficient should they be by the end of that book in working with these numbers and starting to see these patterns themselves?
Sure. So my book's massive. It's almost 800 pages long. You don't have to read the whole book. If you read the first 2 chapters, if you read about 50 pages of that book, you're going to be light years ahead. If you knew nothing about this knowledge and you read the first 50 pages, you'd be a world ahead. You'd probably be as far as I was after working at this for 3 years. So the book's only $5. And I mean, if you read the whole book, I mean, you'll have a whole lot of information and knowledge to work with. But if you just read those first 50 pages, you'll be deep. And really, if you just read the first chapter, your mind will be, I guarantee the first chapter will blow your mind. But the second chapter is where you start to figure out how to apply the code and use it. And it's really intuitive. This is not rocket science. I could teach this to second graders.
Right.
If you can spell and you can read and write and do basic arithmetic, you're good to go.
Well, Zach, as Jeff and I say every day, that actually eliminates about 50% of the population.
It does. What else do you want to point us to numbers wise, Zach, before we start going down the road of sports, which is fascinating within recent events, religious events, cultural events?
Sure.
And do you think I was going to say this. I believe, you get into Donald Trump and that he's bought and paid for literally to the tune of $1 billion to these people that want to put up the third temple. If I was a betting man, I would bet that Trump gets reelected hands down. That election's over. They got to keep him there to get him to build that third temple for sure.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
I'm torn on if Trump's going to do another term because they've compared him to JFK and Nixon, 2 men who didn't finish their first.
Oh.
So I'm torn. I honestly don't know.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I could see it going either way. I'll tell you this. The name Trump does equal 88. 88, does that mean 8 years? So.
Well, I mean, the only thing I would say that I agree with you guys, there's really no way to know, but I kind of feel now that what they've done with the economy and how they've just enabled the Ponzi scheme to just continue, even though there's nothing. This is where now everything now is just pure hype. It's all air. There's no fundamentals driving anything anymore. People are running out of money, but yet they keep suppressing, interest rates and artificially through qualitative easing and whatever else they're doing. I mean, what's going on economically right now is just completely mind-boggling. Right. Nothing is supportable.
Go
ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm so glad you brought that point up because I forgot to say something really important. So let me say this, and then I'll close with today's news stories in 119 because people have to hear this stuff. But what you just said about the economy, when Donald Trump was running for the presidency, the big hit show about the presidency was House of Cards on Netflix.
Right.
And House of Cards is terminology for a company or an economy that's on the verge of collapse.
Right.
And here's the kicker. House of Cards equals 134. So does Make America Great Again, 134, right? And this connection with Trump and Israel's establishment date is May 14th, which is the 134th day of the year. We know who runs the money show. Now, I've been talking about Tisha B'Av. The English way to say Tisha B'Av is 9th of Av. Tisha B'Av equals 134. So does 9th of Av. There's all these 134s, and that's another number they continue to code in all these religious shootings. So I'm also wondering if maybe sometime after whatever they have planned for the weekend of August 11th, I'm thinking sometime in the fall this year, we might see also a major economic fallout. Notice in the past, economies have tended to collapse in the fall.
Right.
Which makes so much sense, right? The way they do things.
Well, so Jack, I would agree with you 100% because, Jeff, and again, I talk about Jeff all the time and everybody in my inner circle. My guess is that we will see in the fourth quarter, maybe late third quarter, total collapse this year. And I say that because, again, in the business world that I'm in every day, I see people that have no money. I talk to banks and credit union, vice presidents and people on a daily basis or every other day basis, and they're telling me the stories of what's happening right now to get people purchased on homes. Refinances, they're taking 3 people's Social Security number to refinance a house, to combine the incomes. No one has cash reserves. This is the final statement, right? Like we are right now teetering on just boom. And when I say boom, and Jeff, we've been saying this for 2 years, Rex and I have been talking about this. I mean like global thermonuclear detonation. Like we're talking a wipeout of the economy. There is nothing sustaining this economy. It is an outright Ponzi scheme.
It is. Yep, that's exactly right.
So I'm sorry, August 10th, August 11th, right? Something horrible happens, a 9/11 event, and then you're right. In the next week, the currency collapses.
Sure.
Zach, would you stay home that weekend, August 10th, 11th?
No, I don't live in fear. And like I tell people, I mean, what's the worst thing we've seen in our lifetime? 9/11. Unless you were in the World Trade Centers, you were probably okay that day.
Exactly.
So
You watched it on TV, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's true.
I don't live in fear. I just call out what these people do. The world's not going to end, but these people are going to continue to plant their false flags and lead us down their terrible path they have us on. So
Jeff, at this point, is it people? I know you're completely have turned, as I've always been, we've turned religion upside down. Is it demonic astral entities that are puppeting these people, or are the people astral entities? I want your answer. What is it right now? What is your best guess?
That's a really good point. And I actually was studying something this weekend and did a show yesterday that kind of addresses that. And, Wayne was talking about Wayne Steiger, our Wayne Steiger channel, of why it seems like about 2,000 years ago, the intellectual development of humanity as a whole in terms of IQ and stuff just kind of came to a stop, and we're not growing. Our IQs aren't getting bigger. They aren't getting better. We're just kind of stagnant. And I have to wonder, and this is really out there, is it really just the same amount of souls, and we just keep getting reincarnated into these same meat suits, and they've somehow, through our acquiescence or through us allowing religious entities to possess us or taking part in rituals that we think are good, Christian, helpful rituals that are really dark rituals, have they locked us in and locked us out of immortality, and we're just grinding and grinding and grinding. And like anything else, you use it over and over and over, and it's going to stop getting better. It's going to start declining. So I'm wondering if it's not the same group of people getting worked hard, ridden hard and put away wet, as we used to say in the South, and we just can't, it's unsustainable.
Well, Zach, who do you think it is? I mean, Jeff, that's a great question, but who do you think it is? Is it a non-ethereal, a non-physical force? Obviously, it's anti-human, right? We know that through transhumanism and all this gender shit they're doing, they don't want us alive. They're attacking us from multiple fronts in the food, air, plastic, endocrine disrupting chemicals. I mean, what is it that's anti-human that's doing this?
You asked me this in December, and like I said then, I honestly don't know, but it does seem that it's something beyond humans.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be.
Yeah.
Zach, have you come to a definitive answer as to whether or not, there's a team of experts in a room somewhere putting together the Gematria, or if it's being spontaneously generated through artificial intelligence?
And I wonder that same question. So
if it's a simulation, it's both.
Yeah.
There's a master puppet, engineering the show. Enjoy the show.
What do you want to get into, Zach, as we close? And I hope you're going to touch on sports a little bit too.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get into sports. Just real quick, the 119th day of the year. Again, a terrorist plot thwarted in L.A.
Right.
Again, today's the 119th day of the year, the date with 52 numerology. Just like how Osama died 119 weeks after Obama took office on May 2nd, 5-2. Terrorist equals 52, government 52. The terrorist plot was in California. California's 52. News by the numbers every single day. And I'll remind people that the original definition of terrorism is government by intimidation.
Right.
And nothing controls like fear. So,
So Zach, I bet you what you're saying, all that is again mind blowing, but what you're saying is, and again, I didn't even know. I live in California. I don't pay attention to news. I'm, serving my mission. You told me, I just Googled it while we were here, but literally this is predictive programming. Terrorist attack thwarted in LA. So they're prepping us for the show that is going to happen when you're probably right. I
agree. It's all predictive programming. Everything they lay down is like a riddle for their next move.
Right.
So here's another story today. The Deputy Attorney General to Trump, Rod Rosenstein, resigns. And as I show, everything that goes on with the federal government is a puppet show. So this announcement comes April 29th, the 119th day of the year. And his announcement is that he's going to resign May 11th. So he announces today that he's resigning May 11th. So he makes the announcement on the 119th day of the year. If you look up his birthday, it's January 13th, which means he's going to resign on his 119th day of his age. So I've been talking about 119 in Trump since the moment he was announced as the 45th president-elect in the early hours of November 9th. The election was November 8th. He was called president-elect very early November 9th, the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, a date written 11/9.
Unbelievable.
In Gematria, Donald equals 119. The president in House of Cards, Trump card, House of Cards. The president's name in House of Cards is Francis Underwood. Francis is 119, so is Underwood. And if you go back to 2009 and look up this commercial, Donald Trump counting sheep, he has this commercial for Serta mattresses. At the end of the commercial, he's in a hallway, and there's 3 sheep in the hallway. 2 are standing on pillars. The one in the background has a number 11 on it, and the one in the foreground that he's talking to has a number 9. So you have 2 sheep on pillars, 11 and 9, Donald, 119, talking to them. And he says to the sheep number 9, he says, "Looking good, number 9, looking good." And he puts his thumb up. Now, what's funny about that is this commercial came out in 2009. And if you add 1 through 9 together, it equals 45. And if you look carefully, you'll notice Trump is wearing the same suit and tie that he wore on election night. And in the commercial for Serta mattresses, he talks about being born for the job. I wonder what job he was talking about. You can go back and watch an old episode of Suddenly Susan from decades ago. The episode came out on May 8th. It's about Donald Trump as the president. 5-8, like how he won the 58th U.S. presidential election. People get confused. They're like, what? 58? I thought it was 45. Remember, some presidents do 2 terms. So Trump won the 58th election. He became number 45. And with regards to the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall equals 45. What's a trip is the name Donald Trump, like the name Paul Manafort, like a lot of people in his administration, like the name Rosenstein, who's resigning today, all of those names sum to 138. And if you look up what day construction began on the Berlin Wall, it was August 13th, a date that can be written 13/8. There's been so many Trump Berlin Wall riddles. It's why when he gave that speech to the nation about building the wall, it ended at exactly 9:11 p.m. sharp Eastern. If you've heard about that Western cartoon that came out when Trump was a child.
The one about
about the con man named Trump saying that people need to, protect themselves. They need to build the wall. The name of that town in Texas, I can't think what it is off the top of my head, but anyone can verify it. Just go look at what the name of the town is. The name of the town sums to 119. And that episode actually came out 37 days from Trump's 12th birthday. 37 is the 12th prime number. Just like how I called the Triple Crown, the first Triple Crown in 37 years, which made the 12th Triple Crown horse, 37, the 12th prime. So you got to know your prime numbers in this research. But anyway, this whole Rosenstein number story, another 119. And don't even get me started on the 119 Jerusalem sheep that were sent over from Israel after Trump won the election. There's just been so many 119 stories and sheep. And it really is a mockery.
Zach, with all the political, obviously, like you said, it's a sham mockery. The political system is an absolute farce. Do you believe that these people are under the influence of these beings, these archons, these astral negative things, whatever, is it some sort of mass hypnotism / delusion that these are normal people, but then once they are initiated or elected or whatever, and they get into this circle of vortex of absurdity, that they aren't even conscious of what they're doing? I mean, what's going on?
That's entirely possible. I am look at three of the last four presidents were all born a couple months from each other. Right. Bill Clinton. Right. By the way, a lot of people don't know this. Bill Clinton's not even really a Clinton. He was born Bill Blythe. His biological father was found dead on the side of the road May 17th, 1946, before he was born in August. Yep. And then his mother married into the wealthy Clinton political dynasty from New York. That's why
I had no idea. That's amazing.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I knew that. That trail of all the people that Clinton's killed, that's in the beginning of that. Yeah.
Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Donald Trump, all born right there in 1946. I think they were all raised from birth to.
I bet you they're all Manchurians, every single one of them.
Yeah, and who knows what they've been through? MK Ultra. Who knows all what?
Right. Well, I think Zach, Jeff, and I talk about this all the time. I believe that all of these people, again, Truman Show, that make it, even celebrities, these are people that have been groomed, raped, molested, the pedophiles. I mean, like you said, MK Ultra, experimented on, and then and we don't have to talk about this today, but what's been coming out on Twitter recently, Zach, I should send it to you if you haven't seen it, on clones. There is a movie right now on Apple TV called Duplicates. Everyone should go watch it. It's with Keanu Reeves. Again, it didn't even make the theaters. It went straight to Apple TV. There it is. It's called Duplicates. They are telling you how they clone people. They even talk about how they download consciousness. It is mind-blowing. But anyway, Zach, I think this is what's happening. I think you just hit it. This is how they control the outcome. This is how the predictive programming is kept. If they have control over every main figure, celebrity, politico, influencer, that's how you run the show.
I agree.
Fascinating stuff. It really is. And they really, with everything they got going on, Zach, they still have enough time to worry about pro sports.
We can transition to the pro sports. There's one other story I'd like to talk about today. If we have just a minute.
Please do.
Okay.
We've got at least 12 minutes. It's your time. We don't want to be.
We only got 12 minutes. All
right.
We
got plenty more than that,
dude. Today is John Singleton, the movie director, died. He's been in coma since April 17th.
Yep.
And he's remembered for making Boys in the Hood.
That's right.
July 2nd, 1991. It's about growing up black in an urban environment in Los Angeles.
Amazing movie.
That film released on a date with 119 numerology. And now here he is dead on the 119th day of the year.
Oh.
And that film released July 2nd, the 27-year anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. In Gematria, civil rights equals 64. Like how the Civil Rights Act happened in 64. By the way, Barack Hussein Obama equals 64. Hope equals 64. Elected the 44th president 44 years after the Civil Rights Act. African-American 44. Anyway, The first black movie director won an Oscar this year. That was Spike Lee. And from the day that Spike Lee won the Oscar to today is 64 days later. Civil rights, 64. The word kill is also 64. So the other thing is, when Spike Lee won his Oscar this year, the first black director, just like the guy who died today was a black movie director. By the way, Hollywood and movie director equal 114. This man died on his 114th day of his age. But from Spike Lee when Spike Lee won the Oscar, this year was the 91st Oscars, the 91st, and Boys in the Hood came out in the year 91. Now, Spike Lee's birth name is Shelton Jackson Lee, which equals 91. Been nominated in the past for the movie Do the Right Thing, which he brought up in his speech this year. Do the Right Thing equals 91. And the movie he won it for this year, which is kind of an insult too, because it's this like provoking movie amongst race, was Black Klansman with that funny spelling, which equals 91. So Shelton Jackson Lee, 91, Do the Right Thing, 91, Black Klansman, 91. He wins it, and then synced up with his award at the 91st Oscars, you get the death of this black movie director, whose biggest movie came out in the year 91. And again, on a date with 119 numerology. And now he's dead on the 119th day of the year. And it's all synced up with the anniversary of the release. He died 64 days before the anniversary of the release and 64 days after the Spike Lee Oscar award. You get it?
Wow.
And this stuff goes on every single day. I mean, this isn't some abnormal thing. When you know this code, you can see what is going on in this world.
I mean, Zach, this is proof it's a simulation, bro. There is no other legitimate explanation.
Well, how about this? How about this? Today, Burger King announced that they're making their vegetarian Whopper go nationwide, and it's called Impossible Whopper because the brand that makes the veggie patty is called Impossible. Impossible equals 119, and they announced this on the 119th day of the year.
So these people have experts in Gematria working for them.
All these corporations do. When you pay attention to these corporate mergers and the supposed dollar prices and the days they do it on, you'll just laugh. It's the same thing again and again and again. You know, when AT&T and Time Warner merged earlier this year, or excuse me, they didn't merge earlier this year, but the court approved the merger. That was on February 26, 2019, the anniversary of the 93 World Trade Center bombing. And it was exactly on the nose, 911 weeks after September 11th, 911. AT&T is who made 911 the national emergency dialing code. So that's why this AT&T Time Warner merger gets accepted by the courts on this special anniversary of the 93 World Trade Center bombing in 911 weeks after September 11, 2001. Again, in 1968, 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. World Trade Center construction began. George W. Bush graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones. So, I mean, is this evidence of the simulation, or is this evidence of a form of mocking from people who are running the show?
I think it's both.
Great question.
I think it's both.
Okay.
Great question.
That said, we can talk about sports. We're almost out of show. I just helped a ton of people win a ton of money. I helped a lawyer get much richer. He bet $10,000 on Tiger. I had a lot of people bet thousands on Tiger for the Masters because I told him it was a done deal. Tiger would win the Masters this year. I wrote about it last August, why Tiger was going to win the Masters and why Brooks Koepka would place, which both of them did. Here's how it was so easy to tell. The entire world of sports is fixed.
Yep.
Tiger won his first Masters in 97, 22 years ago. He won his last major 11 years ago. The master numbers are 22 and 11.
Wow.
So 22 and 11. I wonder what he's going to do in this Masters. The Masters.
The Masters.
Now, wait, hold on one second. Just because I've seen this, just so people understand what you're saying, let me put this in perspective. What Tiger did is almost a mathematical impossibility.
It's one of the greatest sports feats ever accomplished.
So it's clearly, as Zach said, again, Occam's razor.
Right. And here's the evidence that this wasn't the work of a simulation. This was the work of scripting. A few more things about this. The last time Tiger won the Masters was 14 years earlier, not to be confused with his last major.
Right.
Golf equals 14. It's why there was 14-1 odds on him winning. He's 43 years old right now, the 14th prime number. And Tiger, the weekend before he won it, there was the death of a golfer in his hotel room at the tournament that was going on. And I pointed out that golfer's name, it summed to 99, like green jacket. And he dropped dead on Tiger Woods' 99th day of Tiger's age. So Tiger was 99 days into his age of 43. Green jacket equals 99. The golfer who died, his name equaled 99. If you did the golfer who died, if you did his name with the rules of numerology, it summed to 54. Also, like Tiger Woods equals 54. Tiger Woods' caddy wears the number 54. This year, the Masters began on a date with 54 numerology. And the stat after the first 3 days was Tiger had never won a Masters after trailing after the first 54 holes. Well, he broke that streak and he won it this year. And
do you think the fact that the Clemson Tigers won the national championship had anything to do with it?
You know what? It probably did. And I talked about Clemson being in the championship months in advance this past year because they had a former player drop dead by the number C.J. Fuller, and his death was perfectly synced up with the championship date. And Dabu Sweeney just got his big contract extension perfectly synced up with winning the championship. Sweeney's 109. 109's the 29th prime. Football's 29. He just got his monster contract extension 109 days after winning the championship. The entire world of sports, college and pro, is scripted by this code. People just want a lot of money off me because I said Virginia or Duke would win the championship on February 8th. So I told my people who follow me on Patreon, bet Duke and Virginia right now and hope it's Virginia because they have better odds. One of those two teams is winning the college championship. And the reason we knew that is because on February 8th, the news story broke about the lieutenant governor in Virginia, Justin Fairfax, raping a woman while a student at Duke. And that news story broke the day before Duke and Virginia played in the regular season. Duke would win that next day, 81-71. Very funny because it was the 81st March Madness this year, and March Madness equals 71. Now, the thing about the lieutenant governor is his name was Justin Fairfax. Justin Fairfax equals 59. And from the day the news broke, February 8th, to the day of the championship, April 8th, was 59 days later. When you flip the alphabetic order around, Justin Fairfax equals 85 like basketball. I showed everybody this February 8th. Lo and behold, Virginia does win the championship, and they win with 85 points on exactly 59 field goal attempts. Anyone can go look up the box score. But it's also the reason the first March Madness was in 85. Again, basketball equals 85. But again and again, news and sports perfectly scripted together. The other day, a lot of people crapped their pants going with my San Jose Sharks pick. I said the Sharks were going to pick up their 113th playoff win on the 113th day of the year. Late in the game, they were down 3-0 with about 10.5 minutes left to play.
Unbelievable. You called that?
About 3 minutes. And what was comical is I documented that just before San Jose made the comeback, when they were down 3-0, CNN changed their top news story to a shark attack of a 65-year-old in Hawaii. And if you look at the news right now, it is just full of shark attack stories. Most of these stories, if you know how to decode them, you see how they're just pointing to San Jose Sharks games. But
Zach, people don't understand. San Jose was down 3-0 with about 5 minutes left in the game. Game number 7.
10.5 minutes left.
Yeah, it was almost over. And they get a major penalty, which the NHL has now admitted, we blew it. A major penalty means you score a goal. Usually the penalty's over. No. San Jose scored 4 goals in 5 minutes.
Really less than that. The power play was 5 minutes, but they scored those 4 goals in about 3 minutes of game time.
Isn't that crazy?
And what was comical is they went up 4-3 and San Jose equals 43.
So the moral of the story is you're a retard if you bet on sports unless you talk to Zach.
Absolutely. So that is just craziness.
Zach,
that is craziness.
I've always believed, and again, I was a college and pro athlete, but I've always believed that it was somehow fixed. I could never prove it, that I always had this feeling and this awareness of the way the math, the analytics and the actual lines were designed, and how like just unbelievable how they would come out like right on the number, like 95% of the time. And I remember my dad, who's a sleeper, saying to me, son, they hire people from Harvard and MIT.
Right.
They just have unbelievable predictive values and equations, and it's all math. And I'm like, yeah, right, bro. But I mean, I always knew, dude.
Exactly. And look, you have to be blind to not see it. Look at how the San Antonio Spurs NBA season just ended. You cannot explain it. They made the game, they cut it to 4 points. It's game 7. It's the end of their season if they lose. They cut the lead to 4 points. There's 30 seconds left. The other team inbounds the ball, uses the entire shot clock, throws the ball up. San Antonio doesn't even try to foul. They just let the whole game clock run out. Nothing else. The game just ends. It's like, wait a minute. Since when don't you foul and send them to the free throw line?
Yeah.
Try to get a 3-pointer and come back. They just let the whole clock run out. And that was to keep the spread right where it was at. And
that's right.
See it every single night. By the way, I also just called the Blazers beating the Nuggets to close it out 4-1. And I said, if you're going to bet Blazers, make sure you don't get beat on the money line. They're not going to cover, because tonight over 80% of the money is on the Blazers to cover in Vegas. I said, look for Damian Lillard to hit a game winner in this game, because he couldn't have a more perfect alignment. It's 83 days from his birthday. Blazers is 83, plus there was a few other things to it. Lo and behold, Damian Lillard hits the game winner. And if you went back and watched my live stream from that day, I was hammering home the point about the number 37. And the headline was Damian Lillard closes out Oklahoma City with 37-foot shot.
Yeah, and the shot was a 37-footer.
37-foot shot, like literally a half-court shot at the buzzer.
There was plenty of game clock left. He could have gone up and took a much better shot.
Right.
It's because
he's falling away.
Portland equals 37. Oklahoma City picked up their 37th loss of the season. And this is the thing, too. When he hit that shot, it gave them 118 points. Damian Lillard's full name, his 4-point name, his 4-part name with the senior suffix, it equals 118. That's a big number in the Bay Area where he's from. But if you go and watch that shot from behind, you can see what I've been talking about for years, that they are using technology to ensure outcomes. Nothing is left to chance. Damian Lillard's shot, when he shoots it, the angle's out there from behind him, it's undeniable. It moves like a baseball pitch. That shot is going way left. It has no chance. It's going to airball. It's not even going to come close to the rim. But that ball makes such a curve, and it curves back to the right, and it goes in for the game.
Zach, and again, that's more proof of a simulation, though.
Jay, as an ex-basketballer, is it possible that he was putting that spin on that shot the way it came off of his hand?
No, but I will say this, and again, I don't pay attention, but I did watch that highlight because I had all these people texting me and sending me tweets. And I will say this, it definitely, again, as a guy who played at that level, I watched his body, and as he moved and contorted his body, he kind of hitched and then went left. And Paul George, right, is great. One of the best defenders in the NBA, is like right there, and he's much taller and longer. And it didn't look right when I saw it, the shot, because of where his body was and where George was. And then when it went in, it didn't make any sense. And I was like, I need to see that replay again, but it was just a mob action after that. And they didn't really show the replay until later. But you're right. They never showed an angle. You're right, Zach. Jesus Christ, dude, my brain's melting on this, because that's what triggered when I first watched it as a player. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't even look right, the way he's shooting it and where his body's squared. Oh, my God, dude.
Yeah, get the angle from behind. It's undeniable. You'll see how much that ball curves.
Right, you're right. I never even saw it.
Nobody can make a ball spin like that.
Dude, I never even saw the behind angle, but now it makes sense to me. You're right. There's no way that ball should have gone in.
Yeah, it curves huge. I mean, it's like a nice pitch from a baseball player. So
magnets?
That's the 2007 NBA advertising campaign. David Blaine did a commercial spot for every NBA team that year. It's magnets. People can go back and look at the 2007 NBA advertising campaign. Did one for every commercial. Magnets.
Wow.
And the commercial would end with him throwing it hard over his back shoulder and sinking it. And I always say to people, I said, look at what the Harlem Globetrotters are doing. They're making shots out of a helicopter hundreds of feet above the rim. They're flying over in a Cessna and draining it on the first shot. I said, you really think these guys are this good? Obviously, it's technology.
Wow. It is. The joke is on us, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, it comes back to it though, right? Like, let's, give people solutions as we always end the show. It's not about all this, right? We could sit here and be like, wow, and speculate and know that we're in the Truman Show, but what are you going to do to get out? That should be your focus. Again, taking care of business, serving other people, loving, being kind, stop cheating people out of money and doing all these other things. I mean, you can only take care of yourself. I mean, that's all you can do, do the right things, try to get out of here.
And you can buy Zach's book, Learn the Code Yourself, so you can see through the mirage. Zach, one more time, where can they get your book?
So it's been banned twice since I was on last. So it's up on a site called sells.com. If you go to my YouTube channel, probably the easiest way to get there, if you just search for my YouTube channel, Gematria Effect News or Gematria Effect Sports, in the little description area below the video,
that's where I found
there's a link to click on it.
And by the way, I'll put the link in a comment so everybody can get it after they watch it, because this video has been absolutely amazing. I mean, this has been the best show, Jeff, we've done on The Last Stand in a while. We've had a lot.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
So
great stuff. I'm going to go ahead and put your channel in here now, Zach.
Thank you.
So people can do that. Gematria Effect News. And I'm going to go up here. Should I just copy the link off of your YouTube, just hit that letters and numbers book and put the link in?
Yeah, that sales link will work. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, good. There it is. I'll put it in.
So before we let you go, Zach, so what would you be your prediction for the August 11th, the whatever that term, the Jewish term is? I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
Sure. So since it's Tisha B'Av and it's all about two, I'm watching two sites really on that date. It's Jerusalem itself, the site of where they want to put the third temple, the Zionists. And the other place I'm watching is San Francisco, actually.
Right.
And the reason why is because they say the Jewish Messiah at the time of the third temple will come through the Golden Gate. And of course, It's speaking about the Golden Gate in Jerusalem. But when we hear Golden Gate, it makes us think of San Francisco.
Right.
And what's so strange is, since we've been watching this, when the baseball schedule was announced, one of these special games that they highlighted for the year was August 11th, 2019 in San Francisco.
No way.
And what they're going to do at that game is they're going to honor the 1989 World Series Earthquake team.
Oh, yeah, the earthquake. Oh, my God. So I should get out of California on August 11th is what you're saying.
So check this out. People got to know this. So they're going to play Philadelphia that day, the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the biblical Philadelphia, the land of the church that receives the letter in Revelation about the synagogue of Satan, the false Jews who lie, Philadelphia, the biblical Philadelphia, was known for having earthquakes, right? And August 11th is the 223rd day of the year. Natural disaster equals 223. And August 11th, if you look this up, that's the date that the patent came out for HARP, the military technology that some people say has the power to manipulate weather and even cause earthquakes. What's interesting is the full name for HARP, High Active Auroral Research Project, whatever it is, that full name equals 223. And the patent came out on the 223rd day of the year, and natural disaster equals 223. There's so many things about San Francisco on August 11th. The Golden Gate Bridge, the license for construction was issued August 11th. Alcatraz opened August of 11th. San Francisco is named after St. Francis of Assisi. His name equals 118. His first follower, I forget her name, she died on August 11th. There's a big music festival at the site of the Golden Gate Bridge this year on August 11th, and whatever the name of that festival is, it escapes my mind, equals 118. So the two sites I'm really watching right now are Jerusalem and San Francisco. Those are the two cities I'm most curious about.
All right, so Jeff and Zach, I'll give you guys right now a scenario to wipe out everything, right? You take out the Bay. You have a 9.4 earthquake come through, which has already happened before in Alaska, initiated by HARP. You wipe out literally Silicon Valley. You take down literally, 15 to 20% of the world's greatest, technology companies. You wipe out the grid. You take out Google's backbone.
Ooh.
I mean, let's face it, their servers are all housed in Central California, and some of them are in Colorado in mountains. But I mean, if you take down California, that's going to destroy the economy.
You're right. Yeah.
So that would literally take down everything. I mean, again, all you have to do is just translocate that part of central, northeastern or northwestern California and destroy just technology, put down the grid, and there's your collapse.
You're absolutely right. In the
Well,
film,
we should definitely keep our eyes
Rim,
open.
San Francisco gets attacked on August 11th by the monsters too.
What movie is that? The Godzilla
Pacific
movie?
Rim.
Pacific Rim is August 11th. Holy shit.
Are you serious? I didn't catch that one.
Yep.
Wow. Cynthia L says, what will we do without Google? Isn't that the truth, ladies and gentlemen? Zachary Hubbard, it has been a wild ride. It always is when you're with us. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Jay, do you have any last words or requests for Zach or anything that you want to leave us with personally?
Awesome, I think we should bring Zach on, kind of like we told Joseph Farrell. I'd say at least once a month, dude. I mean,
and as often as he wants to come in, we'll do it.
Yeah, as long as we get, especially as we get closer, because I mean, obviously we're helping people. I mean, I live in Southern California. Don't think I'm not going to go home and tell my wife tonight about those days. I mean, I'm definitely going to be on high alert now.
And living in fear is not what we want to do, but being aware is not fear. In fact, awareness and knowledge cancels out fear, in my opinion. So Zachary Hubbard, thanks so much for helping us tonight in that regard. Thanks for blowing our minds, and thanks for opening our eyes to the letters and the numbers. And I do recommend that you get the book. I got it. Jay got it. Be like the rest of the cool kids and buy the book.
Yeah, it's an amazing book.
Zachary, we hope to have you back again soon. All of you in the chat room, we really appreciate you. We appreciate you being here seeking after truth. Thanks so much for Jay Campbell and Zachary Hubbard. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, and we'll see you next week. And until then, visit these great sites, get the book, follow Jay's work, and come back here again. We'd love to see you. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen. You're all very much appreciated.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Take care, guys.